Welcome back everyone. Let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 12 and see how it compares against the iPhone XS Max in 2022. Now I will definitely tell you both these phones are great. The iPhone XS Max is a little bit bigger than the 12, so if you're somebody who wants a bigger phone, then go for the XS Max. If you want to pick up some 5 phones I would recommend this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, you can help support the channel at the same time. Now starting off side by side, the iPhone XS Max is a little bit bigger at a 6.5-inch Super Retina OLED display. I think it's fairly good. I don't really have too many things to complain about it. I still think this display looks very, very good. And you could even see, going through the panel, through the pages, everything looks good. The notch is still there, but still there on the iPhone 12. And honestly, I think this is still a very good display. On the iPhone 12, it's a little bit of a smaller 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and this is another really good panel. Honestly, when I look at this thing, I still think it looks really, really good. There's something about the XS Max panel, though, that kind of tells me it's a little bit more premium, which is very weird, but I still feel like both these phones are great, and I don't really have too much to complain about them in that standpoint. In terms of thinness and thickness, I feel like both these iPhones are great too. There really isn't too much to complain about in that standpoint. I think they look really good in 2022. Now, you do have the flat sides on the 12, but you do have the aluminum kind of metallic reflective material on the XS Max, so it makes it look a little bit cooler, but I don't feel like one is thinner or thicker than the other one. They both are kind of the same thing, to be honest. On the back, we have dual camera setups on both with glass backs. I do have a skin on my XS Max, but the main thing to keep in mind is that the 12 does have a wide-in ultra-wide sensor, where the XS Max has a wide-in telephoto lens. So there's a little bit of a difference there. I genuinely don't think it's a crazy big deal, but it is one of those things to keep in mind. The other side just has power buttons, the top is nothing, and the bottoms are the lightning ports, and that kind of covers it up on the outside. Now, in terms of the actual software experience between them, this is probably one of the bigger differences. The XS Max actually ended up coming out in 2018. So because of that, this is a phone that's going to be supported for maybe another few years or so, but the iPhone 12 is definitely going to outlast it. Even though the XS Max is a bigger phone and it looks like it's more premium, whatever, the iPhone 12, since this phone came out in 2020, has the higher likelihood of outlasting the XS Max. So if you're somebody who actually wants to go ahead and basically get a phone and have it for the next several years, the iPhone 12 may end up being the better deal for you. And honestly, this is probably the iPhone I would recommend if you want the longest lasting phone between these two. I like the XS Max because it's fairly cheap, it's not super expensive, and it's a pretty good deal. But the iPhone 12, I will say, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's going to last you that much longer, so it may make a little bit more sense to go and pick up that device. So that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between them. The iPhone XS Max has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, as you guys can tell. So let's get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, looks like the iPhone 12 is a little bit faster. 12 is here, XS Max is here. Let's go ahead and do something like settings, 3, 2, 1. 12 is faster. App Store, 3, 2, 1. I'm hoping there's no pop-ups. They're both on iOS 16 as well. And the 12 was substantially faster there than the iPhone XS Max. Scrolling through here, let's see if there's a difference. I'm not really seeing it, to be honest. Let's go and click into this one application here. Can't really tell, to be honest. Photos 3, 2, 1. 12 was, I think, a little bit faster there. Camera 3, 2, 1. And the 12 was looking to be honestly fairly fast here, which is really good. Clock 3, 2, 1. 12 again is the faster one. Mail 3, 2, 1. Again, mail is faster on the iPhone 12. News 3, 2, 1. Now this one may be a little bit different because I don't know if there's going to be pop-ups or anything, but it looks like the iPhone 12 again was the faster one. And this is a pretty big difference. The XS Max popped this one up a little bit later, which was very interesting. Now, as always, we have a bunch of these third-party applications we can test on both. We can try Netflix, 3, 2, 1. 12 again was a faster one by quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but there's been a consistent winner here. Staying for Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 12 was faster, followed by the XS Max. Thank you, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone XS Max and 12 are kind of similar. I don't really think there was that big of a deal between them. Stack 3, 2, 1. Okay, I was kind of not looking, but you guys can tell which one was faster. Fruit Ninja 3, 2, 1. The 12 was the faster one, followed by the XS Max. Hopping out of here, let's go and get into Twitter, 3, 2, 1. Very similar between them, not a big difference. Tempo run 2, 3, 2, 1. I don't know why the 10s Max is stuck on the splash screen, so this one is probably going to be a wash. I'm just going to go hop on both these on those. Let's go and do something like the standard tempo run, 3, 2, 1. Let's go and make up for it. Don't know why it was stuck here. That was very, very weird. I feel like I've had a lot of issues with that game. And it looks like even then the iPhone 12 is going to be a little bit faster. Just expected, that's totally okay. And the 12 is slightly faster there. Not a crazy big deal, but I'll definitely tell you the consistent winner here is probably the iPhone 12. That is a substantially faster phone. I wasn't expecting that phone to be that much faster every single time. And even scrolling through here, I kind of saw some glitches going on with the iPhone XS Max, but both are very, very fast in my opinion. But definitely when it comes down to it, the iPhone 12 is probably the faster one. The XS Max is a little bit lower. It's a little bit slower in that standpoint. Now, in terms of the cameras on the back, I will definitely tell you both these cameras are still pretty good. The iPhone 12 has that wide and ultra wide sensor, where the iPhone XS Max has a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. Now both can do 4K at 60 on the back, but they can only do 4K at 60 on the front on the iPhone 12. The iPhone XS Max can only do 1080p at 60, which I still think is very, very good for the most part. Now in terms of the camera overall, like I've stated for many years now, I feel like the iPhone XS Max had a pretty good camera. I didn't really have too many things to complain about it, and I think even now in 2022, it's still a pretty decent lens. My only issues are there's two things. One, lack of a telephoto lens. I love having a telephoto lens, and with this camera, with only the ultra wide, or sorry, I miss having that ultra wide sensor. And with this thing missing that ultra wide sensor, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I wish it did have it, but it is one of those things that you can't really go back in time and change it. We still have 4K at 60 on the front. We still have portrait mode. We still have 1080p at 60 on the front too. So I'm not really complaining about it too much in my opinion. But with the iPhone 12, I still feel like this camera with this type of lens is still very relevant. When I look at this camera, I still think it looks very beautiful. And on top of that, when you actually do use this camera, not only does it have a very beautiful lens, but you have that ultra wide sensor and the ability of doing 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which those things in and of itself are very, very important. When you have a phone like this in this day and age, this is a very solid phone, and I still think it's still very much worth it in that standpoint. And that kind of sums up this whole entire video. If I'm being completely honest, I feel like the iPhone 12 is still a very good phone in so many different ways. However, both these phones kind of had a very interesting thing and they kind of flip-flop on one another. The iPhone 12 is smaller, but it's not really a small phone. It's a beautiful display, it looks very good. I will say though, with the XS Max, it's a bigger phone, which I actually do like a lot, but there are some things that I wasn't a fan of with the XS Max. Things like the smaller battery compared to the 11 Pro Max, things like it not even matching up in terms of speed with the 12, which is expected. It's a 2-year, technically older phone than the 12, but it's still a very premium phone. I will definitely tell you, if you have a XS Max, I wouldn't necessarily go to the iPhone 12 in my opinion, but if you have an iPhone 12, I wouldn't obviously go to the XS Max, but I wouldn't even think about upgrading. Like this is a phone that I feel like if you have now, you won't really want to upgrade for the next, maybe 2, 3, 4 years. For the XS Max, this is a phone, if you get it today, you'll probably want to upgrade in the next few years to be honest. So when it comes down to that, that's kind of how I'd sum up this whole entire comparison in my opinion in 2022. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.